My wife's insane behavior and how it changed us. Hello everyone, I never thought I'd get to this point, to the point of reaching out to strangers on the internet for advice, but here we are. My wife and I have been married for 8 years, but have been together for 10 years. We met in college and were each other's first and only love. Because of it, I honestly felt we had a one-of-a-kind and wonderful connection, but it turns out that was just me. My wife started working at a new firm a while back. At first, she struggled to fit in since she's always been quiet, but with my support, she became friends with a group of gals, some of whom were single, divorced, or dating but not married. I was delighted she made friends at first, but then she began going out for drinks, partying, or whatever her buddies had planned. I grew worried about her shift in behavior and attempted to speak to her about it, but I didn't want to limit her in any way since it was affecting our connection in the bedroom. My wife wasn't the type to initiate intimacy, but with her constant going out, she was either too exhausted or wasn't in the mood. At some time, her firm hired a new boss, whom my wife and her friends admired. She started mentioning him in passing, but it came to the point where she was pointing out how he handled specific difficulties that didn't appear to be business-related. I questioned her about her relationship with this guy, and she dismissed my worries. She even asked whether I regretted not having more experience with women, to which I replied that she was all I ever needed. I swear I saw a flicker of grief in her eyes for a split second, but she swiftly changed the topic. When she mentioned open marriages as a method to spice up our marriage, I was taken aback since my wife was never this sort of person and, to be honest, was not that liberal. I first rejected and questioned if this had anything to do with the new boss, to which she denied, but said that she felt out, but didn't want to lose me, so this was a safer alternative. I cautioned her that she was playing with fire, and she consented grudgingly and naively. So we made certain restrictions, mostly not to sleep with another person in our house for a year, and my wife goes on dates, has one-night stands, and then, as if I didn't see it coming, is in some type of connection with that manager. I, on the other hand, had a few dates but no one-night stands since it seemed weird to me, and my wife would ask if I was okay but wouldn't modify her behavior. At some time, I realized that the love I had for her, the pure magical innocence of marriage, had faded, and it was hurting me on the inside. I ended myself out on a date with an incredible lady who had moved here from South Korea. Conversation was easy. She had the wit of a lightning-quick wife joke and a smile that made one forget oneself. This, of course, led to additional dates until we were intimate. I honestly had never experienced like I had with this lady. I had no idea a woman could be so giving and make one feel so wanted. My wife thought it was charming at first, but as the months passed, she started to doubt my connection with my lover. I quickly pointed out that this was her idea and she, too, was in a relationship with the manager I was worried about. She was deafeningly quiet, as if she wanted to say something but couldn't. She started coming home early to surprise me with supper and have the house extra clean, so she started dropping me lunch in my workplace and began to instigate intimacy in the bedroom. Honestly, if it hadn't been for her opening up our marriage, which I'm also the fault for consenting to, I would have been ecstatic. I seldom gave in to her advances, and when I did, it was just to get it over with. Something in me died for my wife, and I could tell she felt it as well. I asked what had caused this shift in her, what was different, and the answer I received was that she wanted to show me that she loves me and is content with me. I didn't want to, but I broke out laughing when I inquired about her little circle of pals, her manager's boyfriend, or her one night. She didn't answer that day, instead crying herself to sleep. I get home the following day to find her waiting for me. She informed me she wants to end the marriage, that the entire thing was a terrible mistake, that she regrets everything, and that she wants US to be the focus of our relationship once again. I told her to be honest with me and tell me what sparked all of this in the first place, and wouldn't you know it, it was her group of friends who planted the idea due to their numerous exploits, and when her manager came around, he surprisingly supported that lifestyle and encouraged my wife to live free. According to reports, it began as an emotional affair, but only became after the marriage was annulled. While like that makes it better. She compared it to being intoxicated behind the wheel of a speeding automobile. It was exhilarating and intoxicating, but the cost of her choice has grown too much for her to bear. She realizes now that she never needed a comparison, that what we had was genuinely unique and precious, but she still feels as if she killed our marriage and any prospect of a life together. I told her I may never see her as my wife again, which caused her to cry in front of me. I just held her in silence as she wept, till she fell asleep in my arms on the sofa. She has now quit her job and cut contact with all of her friends and her boss, and she has even told me that she is prepared to spend the rest of her life making amends to me and working her fingers to the bone in order to be considered a wife by me, but I haven't stopped communication with my lover. My partner, quite honestly, makes me feel like a man, as if I can take on the world in a way that my wife hasn't in a long time. The truth is that I'm at a loss for what to do in this case. If at all possible, I would want to reclaim the unique sensation, but my boyfriend practically rescued me when I was at my lowest. Please assist me. I forgot to mention that we have our first marital therapy appointment in a few hours. I'm not sure how that will go. Story 2. Wife is cheating, won't stop, and says she still wants to stay married. The most unimaginable situation ever. Although it is impossible for me to make this as brief as possible, I will try my best. It is my goal that by writing here, I would be able to get comments from people other than my friends and counselors. A marriage of 20 years, we have 5 children. Some of them were born to us and others who were adopted. From the ages of 6 to 17 we met, when I was 20 years old and she was 18 years old. We were both in our early 20s. We've had some of the most memorable events of our lives, traveled the world together, and built the life we both wanted. The vast majority of our children are great and happy with their lives. In addition to having severe ADA, one of our children also has been the victim of traumatic incidents that have created major disruption in our family since before he was adopted. In the last 2 weeks, we've had many swinging encounters, all of which have been focused on her. A group of 3 men and her, including myself, and a couple of 2 on her, including me. She had a good time when she agreed to have a free pass night with a guy one night in order to fulfill some of her own fantasies. The problem was that she is not a person who adheres to the rules. She went against the express terms of our agreement. Pandora's box has been opened after a few years of anticipation. She has been seeing someone on a regular basis for around 6 months, and I have just recently learned of this fact. Their hangout time has been during the hours when I've been at work and the children have been at school. They've had relations on a number of times. It took a long time before I was able to convince her to be really honest about what was going on. A lame effort to quit failed when she realized she was not going to swear off her addiction and still needed his friendship and the great she and he had. Even if it is painful to hear the truth, it is better than being lied to. However, things become much weirder. She continues to express her affection for me and her want to be with me. I have confidence in her. They trust her because she is honest, and they believe her because she tells them the same thing. She continues to be one of my favorite people. Not because I'm nuts, but because she is the kind of person that everyone wants to be around and gravitates toward. However, there are a number of other elements that contribute to the difficulty of the situation. Our hyperactive youngster is making her want to go away. He is really difficult, and we have been attempting to help him for the last 5 years without success. Everyone believes that he is a significant contributor to my wife's mental instability. So here are a few additional items to consider. She is talking of committing suicide. On one occasion, I had to remove pills from her lips because she had swallowed them. She's gone to the bar a few times and has gotten completely wasted while still driving back to her house. In order to keep herself distracted, she spends the most of her time with her face buried in her phone. In the past, she has attacked me physically, most notably hitting me in the face with significant force, resulting in a fractured jaw. I was virtually asleep in my bed at the time everything happened. Our children are being impacted, and they are aware that something is wrong with the world around them. I want to be there for her and help her get back on track with her health. However, I'm not sure where the line is between success and failure. She's going to see a professional therapist. I'm not sure whether this is something that can be fixed. I'm looking for some kind of resolution.